Hey guys, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez. There is my Patreon member board and my referral code. So, gentlemen, ladies, juvenile delinquents, what do we have here? Today's video is going to be an interesting one, such as how politics can influence the game, how the game could influence politics, but first I have an announcement from the Earth 2 board, and I quote, "If people are caught intentionally pumping and then dumping land prices for their own benefit, the accounts will be reviewed, restricted, or worse. It would be in everyone's best interest to cease any such activity immediately. It is in illegal practice. We will be able to detect these accounts very easily. For anyone wondering how not to fall scam to that is to check the new land price at the checkout point. So you can see the price of the new land in the country you're buying. It's a good way to avoid these people's pumps and dump strategies." Basically, what that means is that when people buy a lot of, say, like, let's say someone creates a group and they say, oh, buy a lot of land in this region. So they buy a lot of land in this region first. Then they pump it up, saying, okay, everyone, the price is up here now. So let's say it goes from 20 cents a tile to 50 cents a tile. They sell for 40 cents a tile. They dump it, and then it goes back down. That's just something that people do. They do that in stocks, penny stocks. It's very illegal. Actually, for anything more than $10,000 is considered a felony. So for anyone that is doing that or trying not to do that, don't. Now, that's not saying you can't buy and sell, whatever. But obviously, if you bought at some place and throughout just the game, it just happens to go up and you sell, that's fine. What they're talking about is actively like saying like, oh, guys, everyone buy here, buy here, buy here. Make a group, make a collective, and try to actively get it just so you can dump and say that's it. And again, we're talking in the tens of thousands of dollar range. If you bought some plots of land for like $100 and you make like a couple thousand out of it, they're not really talking about you. They're talking about the big ones that are trying to get people in it. So shout out to all of the developers for giving up their sleep in order to work on those issues, the other issues we've been having with payments, and the larger issues of being able to try to at least just get on the site, working on servers, payment issues, and identifying people trying to do those pumps and dumps. So type F in the chat for their sleep cycles because they're not getting a lot right now. Now, Earth 2 Mastery asked if the developers will try and manipulate the valuation to sell more tiles, suggesting that they might lower the price artificially since there are so many left and buying has slowed down. Now, he was talking about specifically in America, United States of America, tiles like $8.49 a tile. They're almost $8.50. They might be as of the making of this video. I haven't checked it in a little while. Part of the reason America has reached that price point is because it's so big. Other countries will never get that price. Not because other countries aren't popular, just because there aren't enough tiles to go around to get the price that high. At least not organically. You have small countries like Kuwait and the UAE that might get there just because people are willing to pay well over market value for some of those locations, such as castles, temples, and all of that stuff. Especially once the designing and building comes into the game, one person might be able to buy 100 tiles on a small island, build the most fantastic building or park or event space, and those tiles could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It depends on the foot traffic that the person gets. The more foot traffic you get, the more ad revenue you can collect in a later date. And some big company might overpay that person, not for the tiles space itself, but just for the future ad revenue that brings in. Even if a company has to take a huge loss on the actual virtual tile value, or it's not worth that much, they'll overpay it just for that. They'll make it back over time in ad revenue. And if you remember, people like Logan Paul are desirable for companies to work with because of their huge audience. So they'll pay people like Logan Paul $50,000 just to mention their product, and it'll only be heard one time in a video for a few seconds. So imagine Logan Paul's audience of 20 million people in a theme park or event arena every single day. People and companies would pay for that as long as the foot traffic remains. So that's something to remember. However, getting back to the original question, a good way to incentivize buying tiles when the price is high and the class is low is to have lower class tiles spawn more resources. It wouldn't be fair to new people if class 1 tiles were gone and it was the class 1 tiles that got the most revenue for taxes, ad revenue, and spawn the most resources. They'd be at a huge disadvantage if that happened. So what I'm thinking is that they would take class 4 tiles and they would incentivize people to buy by saying, well, you know what? Class 1 tiles have so many advantages already, they're going to spawn the least amount of resources. Class 2 will spawn a little more, Class 3 will spawn even more, and Class 4 tiles will spawn the most amount of resources. So that really just incentivizes people to continue to buy, even though they're not getting tax revenue from those Class 4 tiles. But you want them just because, again, you're able to do anything you can on them on Class 4 that you can do on Class 1, and they might spawn more resources. Again, that's just a theory. As I've said before, you have the Ether scan in your settings. Actually, I'll show you that in a minute. You click on the blue hyperlink, and it takes you to a page where it looks like you can buy, use, and trade Ethereum. Imagine getting tax or ad revenue in the game, not using your own money, just that's something that you get, and using it to buy Ethereum would be pretty wild. Also, another thing, as far as politics, how petty and extra can some people be? For those of you that are unaware or just flat out forgot, because it happened a while ago, on 18 March 2014, Russia, in a very controversial move, annexed Crimea after the leaders of Crimea signed a treaty of accession with them, stating that they're willing to go and be a part of Russia. Since then, depending on where you are in the world, Google will show you different maps. Google Maps will show you a different outline of Crimea. If you Google Earth Crimea in the US, it would show a dotted line around the border saying that the territory was in dispute. If you Googled Crimea, Google Earth Crimea while you were in the Ukraine, it would show it as still separate from Russia. But if you were in Russia and you Google Earth Crimea while you were in Russia, it would show Crimea all as part of Russia. So, anyone that decides to buy part or all of Crimea can do so and show the flag of the country they want to present. It's a way that leaders of the world and policymakers can influence the game or use the game to try to influence real life. Ukraine had a coup d'etat also in 2014, shortly after this. This was after the country had voted to stay out of the European Union. And once the coup took place, a pro-European Union president was put in instead. So someone who either likes or dislikes the idea of Ukraine going into the EU could try to influence real life via the game. This also spawned a civil war between Western Ukraine and Eastern Ukraine, and many wars like that could have ramifications in our VR world. I just thought that was interesting that something like VR, something supposed to be fun, can have a major role in politics. Since The Sims can take hits from bongs, I feel like there's no reason that we won't be able to do drugs in the VR game as well, so much as taking hits from bongs. At least our avatar that we put in there, it might make them a little wonky or walk a little funny. Drinking a beer might give them a thing where you could put on beer goggles, and if anyone's taken that health class where you put on beer goggles, you try to walk straight, you veer off to the left. It's just to simulate what it's like being drunk. That could be pretty cool. They might have to have a warning of a motion sickness label on it. They might not. I don't know. But again, this was a lot of information. I will go over some more things tomorrow morning for the Merry Christmas, everyone. For everyone that is not celebrating the Christmas, Happy Hanukkah and all of that. But outside of that, a couple of other things I did want to go over. We're just watch out for other people that want to control your money. I'm not saying don't go into a guild. I'm actually a part of a couple of guilds myself. The idea of it is having an alliance to make sure that just in case there were no separation between warring worlds and peaceful worlds, that you could just be part of a guild just to be able to say like, oh, okay, hey, if you attack me and I'm part of this guild, the whole guild attacks you. It's just a way to kind of keep the peace. You know, everyone, that's why a lot of countries in the world have nuclear weapons. You don't mess with someone. The U.S. does not mess with anyone that has nuclear weapons, really. That's why North Korea and Iran have tried so hard to be able to get that. Outside of that, we do have just a quick warning of just, again, people that want to control your money, say like, hey, use the referral code, don't worry. I would just advise, again, I'm not doing that. They might have your best interests at heart. It's very possible that they're like, okay, if you don't know what to do with your money, I know exactly what to do with it. It'd be similar to an ETF or a money manager saying like, hey, listen, I'll give you my money and again, it's a legitimate strategy. Say, I'll give you my money, you just make money with it, and you just take a small piece just for handling it. That's probably what a lot of these people are trying to do, but money managers and ETF managers, they know what they're doing. People like me that have been in the finance world for a while and have made several $100,000 with it know what they're doing. This game is wild. it is the wild, wild west. We have no idea what's going to happen. The people at the forefront, the frontiers of this game, are really just the people that are doing it, people that are just saying, like, hey, this is what I've noticed. But outside of that, it's really anyone's guess. Could there be professors in this game, similar way that there are supposedly science classes now in memeology? They might, how it influences culture, how it influences history. Something similar might happen with this game, where you might be taken online to ABC or CNBC being paid to talk about this. Most likely the developers wouldn't want to do it just because they're so busy doing everything. Again, they're not getting sleep right now. F in the chats for their sleep cycle and their circadian rhythm. But for me, just because I like a Pokemon game, I want to be able to do things myself. Like, I want to go in blind. I want to go in as, like, discovering things for the first time. If anyone's ever had that thing, what's one song, what's one album or one game you want to play or listen to for the first time again, just because of how mind-blowing it was? That's something that I want to do. Where if you give other people your money, yeah, they might be able to make a lot more money with it, just because if you don't know what you're doing and this guy has a proven system of success or woman has a proven system of success, that's absolutely fine. But just for me, I wouldn't do that just because I want everything myself. That's just how I learn, making mistakes and doing whatever. So anyway, guys, I love you. Again, Patreon, and use the referral code down below. That really, really helps. I know for the guy that I will try to fix the nail issue in the next couple of days when I have some time. But same thing like the developers, I'm not getting as little sleep as them. I am getting about 5-ish hours a night, but just trying to run those businesses. Again, the reason I'm plugging is because I do all this for free right now. Even if you don't want to do Patreon, just want to use my referral code down below. That is super fantastic. I thank and love every single one of you. I really do. I might not say it enough. I do. It means the world. You guys are my friends, and I love you all. Bye. Meow.